Hello everyone, welcome to another session of Next Savier's Essential Question Series NEET PG 2025, and today we are going to have a discussion on a very important topic, that is extravasation of urine, its pattern and urethral injury in the perineum. So let's start with the question, a sample question, that how these questions are probably given. Like, a 25-year-old male presents to the emergency department after a motorcycle accident. Now they have not specified any sort of a injury. He reports pain and swelling in the perineal region with the inability to urinate. There is inability to pass the urine. So this raises the suspicion that possibly the patient is suffering from urethral injury. Now, physical examination reveals blood at the urethral meatus and a tender swollen perineum with scrotal ecchymosis. Now, this much is more than sufficient for you to identify that the patient is suffering from the urethral injury without any doubt. Now, in which of the following spaces is the extravasated urine most likely to get collected? And here how the examiner can mark some of the spaces and ask you a question in relation to the diagrammatic representations. So, what is the step-by-step approach in order to mark these kind of the questions is you have to understand the urethral anatomy. Urethra is divided into prostatic, membranous, bulbar and penile urethra. But for marking the answers related to the urethral injury, you have to divide the urethra into two. One is the posterior urethra and the other one is anterior urethra. The anterior urethra, which consists of bulbar and penile, that is pendulous portion, and the posterior urethra consists of membranous and prostatic portions. Another point which you have to remember are the significant fascia, because it is only through the breach in this fascia the extravasation appears. So what are those two important fascia which you have to remember? One is the D bucks fascia. You see, this is the diagrammatic representation of the transverse section of the penis. In order to make you this deep bucks fascia appear, that how it is related to the urethra. Now, if there is a urethral injury associated with the rupture of the deep bucks fascia, then we are going to have a specific pattern of urine extravasation. Similarly, if there is an injury to the Colles fascia, then there will be a specific pattern of urine extravasation. And the third space that you have to remember is the retropubic space of Retzius, which is related with the deep perineal pouch, where there is an extravasation of urine or collection of the urine related to the posterior urethral injury. So what we have remembered till this point are the two portions of the urethra, that means the anterior and the posterior one. And the second one are the two important fascia. One is the deep bucks fascia and the other one is the Colles fascia. Why this Colles fascia and deep bucks fascias are significant? Just as all of you know that Colles fascia, this is a membranous superficial fascia of the perineum, and it is continuous with the Scarpa's fascia of the anterior abdominal wall and is anchored laterally to the ischial pubic rami. Now, this point is significant. Why? Because in case of urine extravasation that has to happen because of the rupture of the Colles fascia, so when Colles fascia is ruptured, typically due to urethral injury in the bulbous urethra, urine can leak into the superficial perineal spaces, and because of its continuity with the Scarpa's fascia, the urine may then spread into the scrotum all the way up to the lower anterior abdominal wall. Although the lateral spread is limited by the attachment to the fascia lata. Whenever there is a Colles fascia rupture associated with the injury to the bulbar urethra, then there will be a collection of the urine all the way up to the scrotum and the anterior abdominal wall. Why? Because of the continuation with the Scarpa's fascia. This is an important hint which will be provided to you in the question. Now let's see what is the role of deep fascia of the penis, that is Buck's fascia of the penis. Now, if Buck's fascia is ruptured, which is a less common occurrence due to its strength, the urine it extravasates into the deep tissues of the penis, and this results in a more localized collection that is confined to the deep compartment of the penile shaft. You see, in comparison to the Colles fascia rupture, where there was a widespread extravasation of the urine, here in case of deep fascia involvement, there is a localized collection that is confined to the deep compartment of the penile shaft. So this is how anterior urethral injuries are identified clinically. And the examiner typically gives you the anterior urethral injuries, if at all, on the basis of clinical examination, the question is constructed. Because had there been a posterior involvement of the urethra, then the collection of urine is going to be deeper, and for that, investigations are required in order to identify it. It is not that much evident clinically. So, hope you have understood this point number one. That means involvement of the urethra and involvement of the extravasation. Then point number two is identify the type of injury which is presented to you in the question. You know, for anterior urethral injury, it often results from a blunt trauma, and majority of the times the examiner tries to give you a fracture that is a straddle fracture. All of us are aware that what is a straddle fracture? It is the fracture of all four pubic rami because of the anterior blunt trauma that commonly results in bulbar urethral injuries. So it can range from contusions, that means minor bruises, to a partial or complete ruptures of the urethra. On the other hand, if the examiner is asking about a posterior urethral injury, then the mechanism that they will give you is typically a pelvic fracture from a high energy trauma. That means there will be a comminuted fracture of the pelvis resulting from a high energy trauma. But it is less likely to be asked in comparison to these one, because as I told you, the clinical questions are more commonly asked from the anterior urethral involvement. The third point that obviously now you can very easily understand is to correlate the injury with the urine extravasation. In case of anterior urethral injury, when the injury is very much limited to the urethral lumen only, that means if urethral wall is injured, but the surrounding facial layer, that means buccal or the Colles fascia, it remains intact, then obviously there will be no urinary leak. Now it becomes much easier to correlate the injury to the urine extravasation. You see, if the urethral wall is injured, but the surrounding facial layers, that means the buccal fascia and the Colles fascia, they are not injured, or if they are intact, then obviously the urine leakage is minimal. There will be no urinary leakage. But in case there is a bulbar or penile rupture, then because of breached buccal fascia, it allows urine to extravasate into the surrounding soft tissues of the penis. But in case of a breached Colles fascia, it leads to the urine collection in the superficial perineal spaces, all the way from the scrotum up to the anterior abdominal wall. This is something that we have already talked about. And what are the clinical clues which are provided to you in the question is the swelling, tenderness in the perineum, scrotum, or along the penile shaft. You see, the posterior urethral injury are less likely to be kept in the clinical question, but if at all, the posterior urethra is situated deep within the pelvis and is surrounded by a robust pelvic fascia, and that is the reason why if the urine leaks into the extraperitoneal pelvic space, then most notably it is collected in the retropubic space of Retzius. And what is the important pelvic clinical clue that could be provided to you in the question is the pelvic swelling, the pain, the possibility of urinoma. But as I'm again repeating, it is less likely to be asked or kept in your question. So there comes the role of diagnostic tool. That means, what is the diagnostic imaging? Obviously, it is the retrograde urethroplasty. And this imaging study is critical. It helps identify the exact site of the urethral injury and maps the pattern of urine extravasation. Like, what are going to be the interpretations in anterior type? The contrast leakage into the superficial perineal space, possibly extending into the scrotum or along the penis. While in case of posterior injuries, there will be a contrast seen spreading into the pelvic extraperitoneal space, that means in the retropubic area. So this is how you can identify the involvement of the anterior or the posterior urethral injury on the basis of retrograde urethroplasty. And if at all the examiner asks about the posterior urethral injury, then he has to use this retrograde urethroplasty image in the question. So let's summarize it quickly. What are the hints for the anterior urethral injury? As we have already talked about that mechanism of injury, it would be a straddle fracture, a blunt trauma to the pelvis. Then what are going to be the physical findings? There will be perineal ecchymosis and swelling. There will be absence of the comminuted fractures of the pelvis. and there will be a facial involvement, obviously. That means the Buck's fascia or the Colles fascia, leading to urine extravasation into superficial perineal spaces. The hints for the posterior urethral injury are the high energy trauma to the pelvis. Then another very important finding for the posterior urethral injury is the high riding prostate. On digital rectal examination, the prostate may be displaced upwards, which is a classic sign of posterior injury, and there will be associated pelvic pain and swelling. You know, as we have just talked about, that these imaging clues would particularly be provided in a question asked related to the posterior urethral injury. So let's talk about this question now. Hope it becomes much easier for us to answer. That a 25-year-old male presented to the emergency department after a motorcycle accident, what we have found is that he reports pain and swelling in the perineal region with inability to urinate. Physical examination reveals blood at the urethral meatus, tender swollen perineum with a scrotal ecchymosis. Now, even if the retrograde urethrogram finding is not given, then you are ready with the answer. And the answer for this question is superficial perineal pouch, because it is possibly an injury to the Colles fascia associated with the urethral rupture. If you further want to consolidate it, it shows the RUG shows extravasation of the contrast in the perineal region without spreading into the pelvic cavity. So, which of the following spaces is likely to be affected by extravasation of urine? Answer for that question is superficial perineal space. Now, time to identify that why the other options are incorrect. Now, for deep perineal pouch involvement, the examiner must have provided to you the collection of urine in the deep perineal pouch, like spread in the retropubic space, that is space of Retzius, which is obviously not provided in the question. Retropubic space is obviously ruled out in this case, and perivisceral space, it is around the bladder, and urine collects here in the rupture of the bladder, not that of the urethra. So what would be presented in the question is the suprapubic pain, the peritonitis, difficulty voiding, not the swelling in the perineal region for the perivesical space injuries. So, what are the final takeaways for you? One, the bulbar urethral injury, straddle trauma is provided to you in the question, and the urine is collected in the superficial perineal pouch. For membranous urethral injury, which is associated with a pelvic fracture, urine in the deep perineal pouch in the retropubic space. For the bladder rupture, the urine in the perivesical space, as we have just seen, which would be associated with the suprapubic pain, peritonitis, and difficulty in voiding. Now, if the Buck's fascia is intact, then the urine is confined to the penis. So, hopefully, it becomes much easier for you to answer the question related to this. Let's talk about another question. A 30-year-old male sustained a straddle injury after falling into the bicycle crossbar. He developed, now each and every line makes sense now. The first line, straddle injury. He develops swelling and bruising in the perineal region. That is the clinical feature, along with the difficulty in urinating. Examination reveals a tender, swollen scrotum with the blood at the urethral meatus. Retrograde urethrogram confirms extravasation of the urine in the perineum without the involvement of the deep perineal structures. What is the most likely diagnosis for this particular question? Answer for that question would be Colles fascia. So hopefully everything is clear related to this one also. Because we are talking about the perineal injuries, so it is important to have a discussion on a question which has been asked multiple of the times. Like a 28-year-old primee undergoes an episiotomy during the vaginal delivery. The OBS aims to avoid rectal injury, which is the safest incision type. For episiotomy, we have got three types of incisions. One is a median incision for midline episiotomy. What is the direction? It is the vertical incision from the posterior vaginal wall to the perineal body. This is median incision. But the problem with this kind of incision is that it might result in a high risk of perineal tear. That means rectal involvement. Although it has the advantage of causing less pain and faster healing. So that is one point. Specifically in the question it is asked that the clinician aims to avoid rectal injury. So what is the best incision for that? So obviously it is not the median episiotomy. You can very easily rule it out. Or another incision is the mediolateral episiotomy, which is 45 degrees from the vagina towards the ischial tuberosities posteriorly. So this is how the mediolateral episiotomy goes. Like this is how mediolateral episiotomy incisions are proceeded with. Now they are having a disadvantage, and the disadvantage is that it is more painful and there is a slower healing. But it is having an advantage that it is having lesser risk for rectal tears. And finally, the lateral episiotomy incisions. The lateral episiotomy incisions, which are direct lateral incision away from the midline, but it is not very commonly used because of excessive damage to the muscle. So hopefully we have understood the episiotomy incisions, their advantages and disadvantages, and what is the ideal answer for this question. It is the mediolateral episiotomy. Why? Because it avoids direct extension into the rectum, unlike medial episiotomy, which is having a higher risk for third to fourth degree rectal tears. Another question is related to the pelvic diaphragm, that a 42-year-old multi-paras woman presents to the gynae clinic with a complaint of pelvic pressure, difficulty controlling the urination, sensation of something coming down through the vagina. She states that the symptoms worsens when standing for the long period after lifting heavy objects. So obviously, till this point of time, you have recognized that the question is related to the pelvic floor muscles or the pelvic diaphragmatic muscles. Now, pelvic examination reveals a bulging anterior vaginal wall with the descent of the bladder. Which of the following muscle is most likely weakened, leading to her condition? Now, already you know that pelvic organ prolapse occurred due to the weakening of the pelvic diaphragm, particularly the levator ani muscles. Now, the pubococcygeus muscle, which is the part of the levator ani, plays the most critical role in the pelvic organ support. And if there is a weakness to this pubococcygeus, then it might result in cystocele, rectocele, or uterine prolapse. So, answer for this question is pubococcygeus. Another way the question can also be asked is that they might give you that same question, and then they might highlight some of the muscles, and then they will ask you which of the region is most likely affected. Is it region 1, is it region 2, or is it region 3? As you know, that the pubococcygeus is the major muscle of the levator ani. Another one is ilococcygeus. But this pubococcygeus muscle, it plays a most critical role in the pelvic organ support. So this was the answer for that question. In order not to miss any update related to NEET PG 2025 examinations, please join our Telegram group. All the best for your future examination.